If you were to wander through the streets of Morocco, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, or any other Arab country, you would encounter a single common sight: clothes hanging on balconies and rooftops, drying under the sun. However, the moment you arrive in the American suburbs, this scene vanishes entirely. You won't find a single piece of clothing outdoors, and you might be surprised to learn that there are actually laws imposing fines on those who do so. How did drying clothes under the sun a natural and free practice across the globe turn into a crime or a legal violation in the most powerful country in the world? That is exactly what we are going to uncover today. But before we dive in, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. First, we must correct a common misconception. Hanging laundry outside is not an indicator of poverty or backwardness. Rather, it is the fundamental practice in human history. In highly developed countries like Italy and Spain, balconies are designed and pre-equipped with drying racks. In Japan, a world leader in technology, this practice is considered perfectly normal. The logic is simple: the sun is free and the wind is free, which is why approximately 80% of the world's population does this daily. In Arab countries like Egypt, Morocco, and Algeria, building facades are incomplete without those lines carrying the colors of clothes and the scent of freshness, as the sun is regarded as the primary cleaner and disinfectant. Meanwhile, in Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states, despite the intense heat and the presence of dryers in many homes, many still prefer to designate screened areas on rooftops or in backyards for drying clothes. They believe that airing out laundry under the sun provides a level of quality and cleanliness that no machine can replicate. The reality is that while the rest of the world moves in one direction, the United States stands alone in another. So what is the secret behind this discrepancy? To understand what happened, we must return to the late 1940s. Immediately following World War II, soldiers were returning home, the economy was booming, and America began building massive residential suburbs at lightning speed. Thousands of identical houses suddenly appeared, marketed to the public as the American dream: a house with a garden, a garage, and a perfect life. Alongside this dream, a new guest arrived that changed everything: the electric clothes dryer. Dryers had existed before, but they were a luxury reserved only for the wealthy. What changed after the war was that factories began producing them in massive quantities at affordable prices. This is where major corporations like Whirlpool and General Electric stepped in to convince people of a clever idea. The dryer is not just an appliance. It is a symbol of modernity, progress, and the new American lifestyle. The marketing message was clear and direct: if you are still hanging your laundry on lines, you are backward and living in the past. Because of this psychological and marketing pressure, millions of Americans abandoned clotheslines by the 1960s, and the electric dryer became an essential staple of every home. The dryer was not the sole factor. A more powerful player emerged in the American suburbs: homeowners associations, HOA letters. These associations began with a simple idea: preserving the neighborhood's aesthetic and property values, but they quickly transformed into authorities that imposed strict regulations. The first victim of these laws was the clothesline. It was deemed a messy sight and an indicator of a low-income neighborhood. The result? To date, approximately 80 million Americans are legally prohibited from drying their clothes under the sun. Even if an individual wishes to save electricity or dry their clothes naturally, they may face financial fines because a clothesline simply does not suit the appearance of a high-end neighborhood. Now, let us discuss the actual cost of this decision. In terms of numbers, the average American household consumes about 2,000 kilowatt-hours annually just to dry clothes, adding nearly $200 to the yearly electricity bill. Looking at the bigger picture, dryers alone account for 6% of residential energy consumption in America. This shocking figure exceeds the energy usage of a refrigerator, which runs day and night. We are talking about massive amounts of energy burned daily to perform a task that the sun and wind accomplish everywhere else in the world for free and at no cost. You might wonder, will Americans stay like this forever? The answer is that change is already beginning to emerge, albeit slowly. States like Florida and Hawaii have passed laws known as right to dry legislation, which protect residents and prevent homeowners associations from banning clothslines. In contrast, Europe has seen a strong return to natural drying due to rising electricity prices. Meanwhile, in countries like Mexico, there was never a need for such laws in the first place. They never abandoned utilizing the sun, and the matter was never a subject of debate. The strange irony here is that America did not abandon clotheslines because they failed. Quite the opposite. The sun kills bacteria and natural air preserves fabric quality, allowing clothes to last longer. The real reason was purely social perception at a certain point in American history. The clothesline became, in the eyes of the public, evidence of poverty or a failure to keep up with the times, while the dryer became a symbol of wealth, success, and social status. Conversely, countries like Japan, Italy, and Mexico did not link the line to poverty. Rather, they viewed it as a practical and beautiful tradition that respects nature and available space. This proves that our habits are often dictated by societal outlook rather than logic or utility. The most important lesson to be learned here is how a simple decision can transform into a society's identity and character. Imagine how advertising campaigns 70 years ago managed to change a human behavior that had persisted for thousands of years, turning it into a signifier of either sophistication or backwardness. The shocking part is that most Americans today never ask themselves, why don't we use the sun? Because habit has become more powerful than logic. So the next time you put your clothes in the dryer, remember that you aren't just drying fabric. You are executing a decision made by marketers, appliance companies, and residential planners decades ago. It is a long historical journey that began with a mental image and ended with the press of a button in your laundry room.